Thank you for spending your time with Listen and Imagine. We hope this journey sparked your thoughts and stirred your imagination. Alien Human Hybrids Live Among Us Part 1, Whispers in the Bloodline. Are they already among us? Have you ever looked into someone's eyes and felt like they weren't really human? Not in a sci-fi glowing eyes horror movie way, but something deeper, a silence behind the gaze, a stillness that doesn't quite match the rest of us. What if I told you they're real? And not only are they real, they walk among us. They ride the subway with us, sit across from us in meetings, marry into our families, raise children in our neighborhoods. They are alien human hybrids, and they might be closer to you than you think. The theory isn't new. It goes back decades, even centuries, across cultures and continents. From ancient myths about sky gods mating with humans, to modern reports of abductions involving strange reproductive procedures. There's a chilling consistency, and when you begin to dig deeper, really dig, you'll start to notice a pattern, a bloodline, a whisper that connects presidents, scientists, celebrities, and maybe, just maybe, people you know. Let's ask the hard question. What if some of us were never fully human to begin with? The alien-human hybrid theory proposes that extraterrestrials, perhaps from the Zeta Reticuli system or beyond, have been conducting a long-term genetic program on Earth. Why? To merge their DNA with ours, to create a new species, a bridge, one that looks like us but isn't. But why hide it? Why not invade? Why not reveal themselves? Because the plan isn't about domination. It's about replacement, not by war, but by integration. They don't come with spaceships. They come through wombs. The evidence begins. Let's look at the cases. Betty and Barney Hill, abducted in 1961, described beings extracting eggs and sperm. Kathleen Marden, Betty's niece, spent years researching abductions. What she found? Repeating themes: genetic harvesting, embryo implantation, hybrid caretaking. Thousands of people across countries, cultures, languages report the same exact procedures. Coincidence or coordinated? And then there's the curious case of the hybrid children, a phenomenon where abductees report being shown children that are partially human and partially something else. Large eyes, fragile skin, emotionless stares. Some even claim these beings referred to the children as ours. But here's what chills me most. Some abductees say the children were growing faster than normal, smarter, stronger, and that one day they'd be returned to Earth, raised among us. Are they already here? Bloodlines and whistleblowers. Narrator, certain families, powerful families, seem untouchable. Have you ever noticed how some people rise, no matter what? Political dynasties, billionaire heirs, influencers with a strange magnetic pull. What if it's not luck, not hard work? What if it's blood? Some believe secret organizations, even elements within intelligence agencies, are protecting these lineages. Ever heard of Area 51? Sure. But have you heard of Dulce Base? Whistleblowers like Phil Schneider claim that deep beneath the surface, black budget programs were creating hybrids in labs using human and alien DNA, perfecting integration. Phil died under mysterious circumstances. Suicide, they said. Multiple gunshot wounds. But here's a question for you. Can you shoot yourself twice in the head? Act 5. The science makes it possible. Now let's get scientific. CRISPR-Cas9. Heard of it? It's gene editing tech. Real. Powerful. It lets scientists cut and paste DNA like a Word document. We've already created chimeric organisms, pigs with human cells, mice with human brains, monkeys that can recognize themselves in mirrors, a trait once thought uniquely human. If we can do this, what could a civilization a million years ahead of us do? You think your DNA test shows you're 100% human? Think again. Modern tests only check a fraction of your genome. If alien DNA were masked, spliced into your junk DNA, would we even notice? Some scientists suggest up to 8% of the human genome comes from unknown origins. What if that unknown isn't random? What if it was put there, hidden among us? You ever met someone who felt off? Maybe they're too perfect, too symmetrical, their eyes too deep, their smile just slightly wrong. They don't get sick, don't age like the rest of us, don't feel the way we do, not cold, not cruel, just detached. They might have no childhood photos, no hospital records, no traceable past before a certain age. And when you ask too many questions, they disappear. Some say that hybrids are taught to blend in, to mimic human emotion, language, humor, but sometimes they slip. And in those moments, those fleeting, terrifying moments, you realize you're not looking at a person. You're looking at something wearing a person. Closing. Left behind. Maybe it's all a story. Maybe it's just fringe fantasy. But let me ask you this. Why are so many people telling the same story across the globe, across generations? Why are parts of our DNA untraceable? Why do ancient civilizations talk about visitors from the stars breeding with humans? And why are government programs so obsessed with genetics, secrecy, and control? Are you sure you're not part of the experiment? Would you even know if you were? The bloodlines speak in whispers, and some whispers aren't human, fade out with soft pulse, static distortion, fading heartbeat. Part 2, the hybrid agenda, breeding a new humanity. Let's imagine a world where you're not the final version of humanity, where your DNA is just a prototype, a base code, and someone or something has been editing it for decades, silently, patiently. Now ask yourself, why? What is the end game of hybridization? What do they want? Tonight we dig deeper, not just into the who, but the why. Behind the curtain, the hybrid program. The late Dr. David Jacobs, a respected professor and author, interviewed hundreds of abductees over a 30-year period. His conclusion? We're being systematically infiltrated. He called it the threat and claimed abductees describe breeding programs designed to create emotion-capable hybrids, ones who can live among us undetected. His research revealed a chilling shift. Earlier reports, sterile gray beings. Later reports, tall, human-looking hybrids with strange charisma and eyes people couldn't forget. These hybrids weren't just visitors anymore. They were being trained in human behavior, speech, emotion, even sex. Jacobs warned the program is no longer just about genetics, it's about integration. Infiltration, not invasion. Forget flying saucers in the sky. That's the old script. Real infiltration doesn't come from above, it comes from within. The hybrid agenda isn't about conquest, it's about replacement. In one account, a woman described being taken aboard a craft and introduced to her hybrid son. The being looked human, but his skin was pale and slightly translucent. She said, "They told me he'd be placed in a family on Earth, that I'd never see him again, but that he'd live a good life, that he'd be important someday." Think about that. Planted, raised as one of us, educated, groomed, and when the time is right, activated, what would that moment look like? A global event, a neurological switch, or something subtler? Act 3, 10 Tickle Profiles. Clinical psychologists have studied abductees with consistent findings. They don't show signs of psychosis. They're often intelligent, emotionally stable, and deeply disturbed by memories of contact. They speak of being forced to hold hybrid babies, telepathic communication with emotionless beings, recurring dreams of alien cities, underground nurseries, glass domes. One woman said the hybrids were like children playing human. They knew how to smile, how to talk, but something was always off, like mimicry. But here's what's terrifying. These hybrids weren't hidden in ships. They were already on Earth, living in apartments, attending schools, working normal jobs. Some abductees were even asked to help teach them how to be human. Is this psychological trauma, or is it training? Act 4, scientific plausibility. Could this be real? Let's put emotions aside. Let's talk science. Can alien-human hybrids even exist? According to leading geneticists, interspecies reproduction is rare, but not impossible if the genetic structures are compatible. And if they're using advanced gene editing tech, centuries ahead of ours, well, humans have already created human monkey embryos, grown lab-made synthetic embryos, and altered the human germline using CRISPR. Imagine what could be done with superior knowledge of DNA folding, control over gene expression, non-invasive neural interfaces. In 2018, Chinese scientist He Jiankui claimed he gene-edited 2 babies to be resistant to HIV. He was condemned, but the genie's out of the bottle. What if they have been editing us for thousands of years? Would we even know, or would we just call it evolution? ActFi reports from the shadows. Let's talk about the ones who've seen too much. A nurse in Ohio claimed to assist during an emergency delivery in a military hospital. The baby, she said, had abnormally large eyes, 6 fingers, and communicated through images in her mind. She was transferred the next day. Record wiped. An IT specialist in Virginia claimed to find encrypted footage labeled Class X breeder program on a government cloud server. A week later, he vanished. His house emptied. Digital footprint scrubbed. You won't hear these stories on CNN, but they exist, buried in forums, leaked reports, deathbed confessions, and they all lead to one chilling question. How far has this gone? The silent evolution narrator. What if humanity isn't being invaded, but re-engineered, quietly, invisibly, over generations? What if each hybrid placed among us slightly changes the collective human experience? The way we think, the way we love, the way we connect. Are your thoughts truly your own? Is your compassion natural or part of a design? In 2023, a researcher named Dr. Amara Wild published a controversial theory that humanity is entering a phase of neural convergence, a merging of consciousness, emotion, and intelligence. Her data showed anomalies in empathy response among certain subjects, as if their emotional calibration was synthetic. Could these be hybrids or the beginning of something else entirely? What happens next? Narrator. Look around you. The man on the train, the woman in the coffee shop, your new coworker who never blinks enough. You might be watching the future in disguise. The real question is, are they here to help us evolve or to replace us? Are we merging or being erased? And more terrifying than all of that, what if it's already too late to stop? Sound, slow heartbeat, a brief distortion, a soft child's voice whispering, "I'm learning," then silence. Part 3, triggers and activation. When the sleepers wake. What if the hybrids aren't just walking among us? What if they're waiting for a moment, a signal, a trigger? They smile, they blend in, they laugh at our jokes, but underneath the surface, they are something else. Tonight, we ask a dangerous question. When do the sleepers wake up? The trigger theory. Many abductees report a recurring dream. It begins the same way. A blinding light, a voice saying, "It's time," and a strange compulsion, not fear, not confusion, but purpose. Some wake up sweating, unable to explain the urge to leave everything behind. Others claim to have suddenly changed, their personality, their diet, even their empathy levels. Dr. Carla Turner, before her mysterious death, documented several cases where abductees said they were told, "You won't remember now, but when it begins, you'll know what to do." What are they being prepared for? And more terrifying, how many are already prepared? Act 2, Government Knowledge and Silence. In 1997, a leaked memo from a now decommissioned Air Force base referenced something called Class C inductees. The memo stated, subjects appear fully human, background scrubbed, behavior within normal parameters, awaiting neural sequencing. What is neural sequencing? Is it programming? Former military linguist Paul Schaefer claimed in a 2012 interview that during his time decoding intercepted transmissions, he once translated a non-human language, not words, but emotional pulses embedded in digital noise. He said one of the sequences translated as "awaken the embedded." His files were confiscated. He now lives off-grid. Coincidence? Or was he onto something? Signs of activation. Narrator. Reports have emerged in the last decade that follow a disturbing pattern. Normal individuals suddenly displaying enhanced cognition, insomnia followed by bursts of creative or technical genius, dissociative episodes where they speak in unknown languages. A nurse in Portland described a patient in the ER whose eyes shifted from green to solid black for 6 seconds. She claimed he whispered, "I remember now," then collapsed. When he woke up, he had no memory, but his fingerprints didn't match any known record. He had a driver's license, social security number, childhood photos, but no digital birth certificate, no hospital records. It was like he had been inserted into reality, partway. Are these people part of the program, or is the program waking up? Act 4, Fictific Models of Latent Consciousness. Let's step back. Let's go scientific for a moment. Is it possible to plant latent instructions in a brain? In 2021, researchers at MIT demonstrated that optogenetic memory implants in mice could trigger behavioral changes days or weeks later. Imagine scaling that up. Neural implants? Too crude. But genetic encoding? Now that's elegant. Dr. Evelyn Mora, a neurobiologist turned whistleblower, claimed in 2024 that she worked on a DARPA project codenamed Lucid Splice. Its goal? To embed long-term behavioral programs into human DNA, triggered by specific light frequencies and emotional conditions. She said the human mind is programmable just like a machine. And what she feared most, that we're already running programs we don't even know exist. Cultural hints and the slow disclosure. Think about how often you've seen it in pop culture lately. Shows like Stranger Things, films like Nope, video games like Control, each of them hints at hidden programming, invisible puppeteers, and human vessels for non-human intelligence. Even Marvel's Eternals plays with the idea of cosmic beings guiding evolution, sleeper agents living among us. Is this all entertainment or predictive conditioning? Are we being slowly trained to accept the truth, to stop resisting when the hybrids step forward, to welcome the next phase as if it were our own idea? Hybrid psychology, the switch within. Former abductees speak of a terrifying sensation that one day they'll be in control and then they won't. One man described waking up in his car parked outside a facility he'd never seen before. He walked in. Security didn't stop him. He entered a room where others were sitting, silent, waiting. He sat down. Then someone said, "They've all heard the signal now." He doesn't remember leaving, but 2 weeks later, his home was ransacked, computers wiped. He says he's never felt the same since. His therapist noted personality changes, coldness, focus, obsession with patterns. She asked him once, "Do you ever feel like you're not you?" He replied, "That version of me was the shell." The silent countdown narrator. So here we are, living beside those who may not truly be human, waiting for a switch to flip, a phrase whispered in a dream, a tone hidden in a broadcast, a tragedy designed to unify minds under one frequency. The question isn't whether hybrids exist, it's whether they're waiting to become something else. And if they are, when does it begin? And more terrifying, has it already begun? Sound, a tone, brief, almost imperceptible, then silence, then a heartbeat, then another voice, your own voice, repeating, "I'm ready." Part 4, the ones in power, hybrids in high places. They walk among us. That much we suspect, but what if they do more than walk? What if they lead us? What if they own the systems we live inside? Tonight, we peel back the curtain on a terrifying possibility. The hybrids are already in power. And the question we must ask isn't, how did they get there? It's this: who put them there? Act 1. The strange behaviors of the elite narrator. In 2008, an anonymous staffer leaked footage from a private retreat in Northern California, what looked like a harmless meeting of world leaders and tech billionaires. But in one 7-second clip, a man believed to be a former Secretary of Defense exhibited something unnatural. Frame-by-frame analysis revealed his pupils contracting in pitch-black darkness, something human biology cannot explain. That clip vanished within 48 hours. But others noticed. A similar video from 2012 at a G7 summit showed a European CEO seemingly whispering without speaking, and the man next to him nodding, eyes glazed. The internet called it silent telepathy. Authorities called it video compression glitches. But how many glitches does it take before we question the pattern? Act 2. Whistleblowers from within. In 2019, a former MI6 analyst, codename Ermine, published a series of encrypted blog posts before disappearing. He claimed key political actors across Europe are not the people they once were. Their voting patterns, speech cadence, and emotional range changed post-2013. They speak human, but something behind their eyes has shifted. Ermine listed 8 names: 5 politicians, 2 CEOs, and 1 UN official. 2 months later, one died in a car crash. Another stepped down for health reasons. The rest went silent. What did he see? And more importantly, why did no one stop it? Or maybe they couldn't. DNA evidence in unlikely places. Let's turn to science. In 2023, a geneticist at the University of Toronto ran blind DNA comparisons from international donor registries for a private AI genomics project. One result was flagged internally as anomaly. What was unusual? The DNA structure exhibited non-standard telomere behavior, delayed decay markers, and most disturbingly, a 4th genetic helix marker unaccounted for in known human biology. The donor? Anonymous, billionaire, former presidential advisor. The data was seized by Homeland Security. The lab shut down a week later. What were they trying to hide? Is there a specific hybrid genotype shared by those at the top? And if so, is it by birth or by design? Act 4, behavior profiling of hybrid leaders. Psychologists have long studied empathy suppression among corporate and political leaders. But what if, in some cases, it's not just personality? What if it's biology? In a 2020 study, later buried, researchers observed functional anomalies in the amygdala responses of 10 Fortune 500 executives during moral decision-making simulations. These subjects showed 0 neurological spikes when asked to choose between profit and lives. Cold logic, no hesitation, almost robotic. One anonymous subject said afterward, empathy is inefficient. Strategy doesn't need feelings, a lack of feeling, or something else, a different operating system entirely. Act 5, symbolism and hybrid messaging. Now consider this. Why do elite circles obsess over certain symbols? The eye, the serpent, the double helix. The logo for the Trilateral Biogen Conference? An embryo within a triangle surrounded by rings. The campaign slogan of a now-defunct tech military startup, beyond flesh, beyond fear. Some dismiss these as aesthetic, but what if they're not? What if these are signals to each other, visual codes, rituals, a silent network, just like animals use pheromones or bees use dance? Are hybrids sending signals through symbols right in front of our eyes? Act 6, the question of consent. Here's the part that haunts us. Did we let this happen? Was it infiltration or invitation? Some believe Project MKUltra was just the surface layer, a way to test mass psychological manipulation and eventually install post-human candidates into positions of control. A slow transfer of influence from one species to another. And we, distracted, sedated by media, divided by design, never saw it coming. Or worse, we chose not to see. Who rules us now? Slow, steady. So the question echoes louder. Who truly governs this planet? Are the world's leaders human, hybrid, or something in between? And if the hybrids are real and in control, Then who's next? You? Your children? Or are they already chosen, already prepared, already watching, sound soft metallic whispering like cables stretching under strain? Then silence. Then one final breath. Power doesn't just corrupt. Sometimes it evolves. Part 5. Hybrid integration, hidden in plain sight. You've seen them. You've walked past them on the street, sat next to them on a plane, laughed with them in meetings, maybe even kissed one. The alien-human hybrids, not hiding in bunkers, not floating in spacecraft, living among us in homes, schools, offices, in families. And perhaps the scariest part? We don't even know who they are anymore. Act 1, from control to coexistence. Narrator, in the last episode, we explored the possibility that hybrids occupy the highest positions of power, CEOs, world leaders, military strategists, but power doesn't sustain itself through force alone. It requires acceptance, familiarity, trust. What better way to ensure long-term influence than to slowly embed hybrids into everyday life? This isn't invasion. This is integration. Whisper quiet, intentional, generational, not as overlords, but as neighbors. Act 2, 6 family next door. In 2017, a pediatrician in Santa Fe, New Mexico, reported something strange. Of the 18 infants he had seen that month, 4 exhibited signs of rapid neural development. One spoke full sentences by 14 months. Another displayed spatial reasoning usually seen in 7-year-olds. A third had an unusually low heart rate, consistent with professional athletes. The fourth avoided mirrors entirely. Medical journals shrugged it off. Statistical noise, they said. But privately, the doctor, whose name we'll withhold, emailed 3 colleagues with this chilling line. These aren't child prodigies. These kids are designed. Narrator, let's dig deeper. Multiple fertility clinics in North America have reported a rise in genetic preference procedures. Nothing illegal, nothing overt, but within the metadata of those gene selection requests, patterns. Requests for extremely high memory retention, enhanced night vision, reduced emotional variability. Some traits aren't even currently alterable through CRISPR. So where do the expectations come from? Are parents unknowingly requesting hybrid traits? Or worse, are some of them already hybrids, trying to breed more? In 2022, a confidential counseling group in Portland held a closed-door symposium titled "When Your Partner Isn't Entirely Human." At first glance, it seemed like a fringe support group. But the guest list? A biotech VP, a retired Air Force colonel, the daughter of a late senator. One attendee, under pseudonym, described waking up to find her husband not breathing, but very much awake, eyes glowing faintly in the dark. He told her, "This body sleeps when it needs to. I don't." She left him 3 days later. What disturbed her most? He never denied he wasn't human. He just told her, "You're not ready to know what I am." Narrator, are hybrid relationships strategic? Think about it. A romantic partner is the one person we drop our defenses around. We give them access to our schedules, devices, secrets. Now imagine if that partner had another purpose, to report, to collect, or even to breed. The hybrid presence might not just be political. It could be biological and, in time, personal. Hybrid markers in the workplace. Listen closely. You've probably worked with one before. That one colleague who never gets tired, never seems sick, never overwhelmed. They don't gossip, don't complain, always efficient, always watching. Some might call that disciplined, but what if it's engineered? An internal study from a major aerospace contractor found that 7% of employees in classified projects scored in the top 0.01% of performance metrics across cognitive, physical, and emotional categories. One exec joked they were barely human. He had no idea how close he was to the truth. Narrator, in Silicon Valley, whispers of ghost founders abound. Startups appearing overnight. No online footprint of the founder before age 25. No childhood photos, no school records, just brilliance, quiet dominance, and an eerie calm under pressure. One investor told us some of these guys don't blink during pitch meetings. Literally, I timed one, he didn't blink for 9 minutes straight. Is that a quirk or a clue? Not at all. Narrated a 2021 study on mirror touch synesthesia, the ability to feel what others feel, found a handful of individuals with neurological mirroring far beyond normal human levels. They didn't just feel emotional empathy. They physically reacted to other people's pain as if it were their own, without any trauma history or neurological damage. One subject claimed, "It's not empathy, it's calibration." What does that mean? Calibration. To what? To blend? To simulate us better? Could these be second-generation hybrids still learning to pass as human? Act 6, when hybrids have children. Let's talk bloodlines. If a hybrid mates with a human, what happens to the child? Some theories suggest that these children are biological bridges, not quite alien, not quite human, but perfectly adapted to live on Earth and interact with either side. It's possible that second or third generation hybrids don't even know though they're hybrids. They feel different, disconnected, gifted, but alone. One such case, a teenage boy in Ohio who disappeared for 3 days and reappeared 100 miles away with no memory but complete fluency in a language no linguist could identify. When asked how he learned it, he said, "I heard it in my sleep. They were teaching me." So what now? If hybrids have moved from power to partnership, from laboratories to living rooms, then the question isn't where are they? It's this: how many generations until there are no pure humans left? If hybridization is the goal or the result, then we may already be past the tipping point. The next president, the next surgeon, the next teacher, your future child's spouse. How do you know they're one of us or something else entirely? Are you one of them? You've felt it, haven't you? That moment in a conversation when someone just doesn't seem right, that glance that lingers a second too long, that smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes, that moment you wonder, even for a second, are they really human? Maybe the better question is, are you? Because if the hybrid integration is real, and if the infiltration has reached this deep, then maybe it's not about us discovering them anymore. Maybe it's about them watching to see who wakes up first. Sound fades to silence, then a faint, almost inaudible whisper, "We've always been here." Part 6, Hidden Communities, the New Colonies. What do you do when you don't belong? You isolate, you hide, you build your own world where you set the rules, where your kind won't be questioned, judged, hunted. Tonight, we go deep into the forest, the deserts, the mountain towns long forgotten by the grid because that's where they are. The hybrid colonies, hidden in plain sight, and maybe recruiting the vanishing towns. In 1998, a small mountain town in Montana called 10 Crowns was abandoned overnight. Population 147, no reports of fire, no floods, no evacuations, just silence. When a reporter visited weeks later, homes were still stocked with food, TVs plugged in, one even had a still warm cup of coffee on the table. What the town lacked? People. Not a single one. But what authorities did find in the forest nearby? Dozens of strange metal discs buried in the ground, each about 14 inches wide, etched with symbols no one could identify. Years later, rumors emerged that 10 Crowns had been cleared for something else. Something not entirely human. Act 2. Satellite silence. In a world covered by satellites, true privacy is nearly impossible, unless someone designs it that way. A 2023 report from the Global Mapping Initiative listed over 70 dead zones across the US, areas where satellite imaging repeatedly fails, glitches, or returns heavily distorted visuals. Some are blamed on natural interference, but others, They correlate with high EM readings, strange time anomalies, and missing person reports. One such zone in northern Arizona showed a sudden thermal spike, but no trace of fire, volcanic activity, or military presence. Local hikers have a different story. They say at night, lights float above the trees. They say the air hums. They say sometimes voices whisper in languages they've never heard. And every once in a while, someone doesn't come back. So, what does a hybrid colony look like? They don't build monuments. They don't need churches or malls or fast food. But what they do construct, if our sources are correct, is infrastructure for evolution. Picture this: subterranean living quarters powered by magnetic resonance, not electricity. Bioengineered gardens that glow faintly at night, feeding off lunar cycles. Communication not with cell towers, but via biotelemetry. Neural pulses shared across a closed network of minds. Sound like science fiction? Then why did a team of spelunkers in the Ozarks stumble upon a sealed cavern system with walls that absorbed sonar? Why did their electronics fail as they entered? Why did one of them, a Navy veteran, emerge 3 days later with full amnesia and a crescent-shaped scar behind his right ear? Act 4, Twentyment or Refuge. Narrator: not every hybrid wants domination. Some reportedly seek refuge. After all, hybrids, especially first gen, often suffer extreme emotional isolation. They don't connect easily with humans. Their physiology might be perfect, but their souls? Still searching. That's why many believe these colonies aren't just survival centers. They're homes for those who never belonged on Earth or anywhere else. There are even whispers of runaways, hybrids raised in human cities who flee to the colonies after discovering what they really are. In 2021, a 16-year-old girl from Denver disappeared without a trace. Her journal, later found beneath her bed, ended with this sentence: "I finally heard it. The hum. I know where I'm supposed to go." She was never seen again. Physical evidence or psyops? Narrator: skeptics argue this is all misinterpretation. People see what they want to believe. But let's review some physical findings tied to potential colonies. Soil samples with unidentified microbial life not seen elsewhere on Earth. Underground heat signatures in geometric grids suggesting artificial layouts. Trees growing in spirals, not due to genetics or wind, but magnetically guided growth. Even more bizarre, recordings captured by amateur radio operators in remote areas, strange bursts of non-random frequencies forming patterns. Mathematicians analyzing one such sequence in Utah determined it echoed DNA helix structures. Coincidence or communication? Colonies in the desert. Let's take a quick detour. Nevada. Near Tonopah, west of Area 51, hikers often report strange encounters, not just lights in the sky, but people, tall, silent, wearing hooded robes or pale clothing, eyes too large for their faces. They don't speak, but they watch. When approached, they simply vanish. A prospector once followed a pair into a canyon and claimed they walked into the rock face, like it wasn't there at all. He left behind a notebook. It ended with this: "This isn't alien territory. This is post-human." Act 7. Why hide? If hybrids are superior, stronger, smarter, more evolved, why hide? Because maybe they don't want to rule. Maybe they've learned from watching us, from watching what we do to things we fear. We dissect, we isolate, we destroy. So instead, they've chosen the long game: silence, separation, observation, and maybe one day, assimilation. But only when we're ready or when they are. Are you close to one? Have you ever driven through a backroad town that didn't feel right? Where people looked at you but didn't smile? Where street names didn't show up on GPS? Where your phone lost signal even though the sky was clear? Next time that happens, look around. Are there lights without power lines? Homes with no mailboxes? People who never blink? You might not be lost. You might be trespassing in one of their colonies. Closing. the question remains. If hybrid colonies exist, if they've carved out silent sanctuaries across this country, then what are they waiting for? A signal? A collapse? Or simply the moment when enough of us are one of them? Because the more we ignore the signs, the more they grow. And when the line between human and hybrid disappears completely, will we even notice? Or will we just feel right at home? Static returns, then silence, then faintly breathing, not yours. Part 7, the hybrid agenda. What do they want? We've followed the hybrids through shadows, through whispers in dark forests and silent towns. We've seen signs of colonies, of cover-ups, of quiet control. But there's a question more unsettling than who they are or where they hide. It's why. Why are they here? Why embed themselves among us? Why now? And the answer might lie in what they're waiting for. The pattern in history. The idea of hybrids isn't new. Ancient cultures, from Sumer to the Maya, told stories of gods who came from the stars and mated with humans. The result? Beings with knowledge beyond their time, children of the divine and the earthly. The Book of Enoch calls them the Nephilim. The Greeks spoke of Titan-born demigods. The Dogon tribe of Mali, they still speak of the Namo, amphibious star beings who altered human DNA. Are these just myths or historical breadcrumbs? Because the same exact pattern appears in every major civilization, a sudden jump in intelligence, the appearance of star beings, a collapse followed by silence. Is that a warning or a cycle? Act 2, behavioral evidence. Let's talk psychology. According to the Behavioral Cognition Institute, BCI, there are individuals, approximately 0.03% of the population, who exhibit extreme emotional detachment, advanced pattern recognition, empathic blindness combined with high abstract reasoning. They're often misdiagnosed as on the spectrum, or savants. But some researchers, especially in fringe exoneurology, believe these traits aren't disorders, they're adaptations. Adaptations not designed by nature, but by designers. In 2019, Dr. Alana Vrost presented a paper titled Post-Human Signal Traits in Isolated Genomes. It was dismissed as pseudoscience and later scrubbed from several archives. But a leaked copy described patients who processed human emotion as data, not feelings. When asked how they learned this, one answered, "I didn't learn it. I remembered it." The genetic switch theory. Let's go deeper. Human DNA contains over 223 genes that do not appear in any other species on Earth. That's not mutation, that's insertion. What's stranger? These genes don't activate in most people, they're dormant. But what if hybrids or partial hybrids carry the switch, a trigger buried in the code, waiting for something? Environmental conditions, cosmic events, or perhaps a frequency? Dr. May Takano, a geneticist at Caltech, was studying electromagnetic responses in stem cells when she noticed something shocking. Certain DNA strands, supposedly junk, began to light up when exposed to frequencies in the 4.23 to 4.27 gigahertz range. These bands, not used in any human technology, but they've been detected in deep space signals from Proxima Centauri. Coincidence? Or a countdown? Over the past decade, a new form of digital communication has emerged. Off-grid, encrypted, nearly invisible. It's called the subnet. First discovered by independent coders in Germany, the subnet doesn't use traditional internet infrastructure. It rides on background EM noise, on light pulses, on Wi-Fi crosstalk, even piggybacks on discarded satellite channels. And what's being sent? Sequences, pulses, tonal maps. Many contain non-human linguistic patterns. Researchers like Zeke Bell, now in hiding, claim these aren't just communications. They're instructions. Instructions for what? We don't know yet. So we return to the question, what's the agenda? Control? Colonization? Destruction? Possibly none of the above, because the truth may be far stranger. Some theories suggest hybrids are here not to dominate, but to usher in the next step of evolution. to slowly, subtly integrate alien DNA into humanity until the difference disappears, not through violence, but through time. Already, our kids are more emotionally fluid, more connected, less tribal. Are we watching humanity fade or evolve? A slow merger, not by invasion, but by design. The coming event narrator. In 2024, an astronomer at an independent observatory in Chile reported an unusual rhythmic signal from a fast radio burst. Not just any burst, it matched the tone pattern of subnet traffic. 6 pulses, pause. 9 pulses, pause. One long, sustained tone. Mathematicians ran it through AI translation models. The rough result? Phase complete, awaiting alignment. The astronomer who decoded it vanished 3 months later. Her lab was burned to the ground, no suspects. What happens next? We may not notice it happening, not in days, not in years, but something's changing. People who used to feel off now feel normal. Children born with anomalies, now seen as gifted. A new kind of human is forming, slowly, quietly. Maybe we'll all become hybrids. Maybe we already are. So if you wake up tomorrow and your dreams feel more vivid, if a stranger looks at you like they've known you forever, if electronics glitch when you're around, ask yourself, are you evolving or are you remembering? Part 8, Interbreeding Experiments, Controlled Evolution or Genetic Invasion. There's a fine line between experimentation and evolution, between guidance and manipulation. What if the line was crossed a long time ago? What if we're not just being studied, but engineered? Tonight, we peer into one of the most unsettling corners of the hybrid theory, the breeding programs. Are we merging with something alien or being overwritten? The strange testimonies of abductees. For decades, UFO abductees have described eerily similar experiences, regardless of age, gender, nationality, or belief. They're taken, subject to medical procedures, and returned. But it's the specifics that disturb. Long needles into the abdomen, fluid samples, hybrid infants shown to them, women reporting unexplained pregnancies followed by sudden disappearance of the fetus. These are not isolated claims. In fact, Dr. David Jacobs, a retired professor of history at Temple University, compiled hundreds of these cases, interviewing subjects under hypnosis, in full consciousness, and across continents. His conclusion? This is not psychological. It's reproductive, and it's organized. So who or what is organizing it? Act 2, Sigma and Underground Labs. Whistleblowers from inside the U.S. government have spoken, carefully, quietly, and always anonymously. One such informant, known only as Echo 6, claimed that a covert program called Project Sigma was established in the 1970s, not to combat alien presence, but to facilitate genetic cooperation. Underground facilities, most notably Dulce Base in New Mexico, allegedly housed joint alien-human medical labs. One room, according to the Echo 6 files, was called the nursery. Rows of artificial wombs, chambers filled with viscous blue liquid, and embryos that didn't look entirely human. Many dismissed these claims as fantasy. But then came the photos. Smuggled images, blurry, yes, but showing long-limbed fetuses with oversized craniums. Still think it's just science fiction? The science behind genetic compatibility. Is interbreeding between humans and aliens even possible? Let's talk biology. Conventional science says that 2 species can only reproduce if they share similar chromosomal structures, like horses and donkeys producing mules. But here's the kicker. Geneticists have long been puzzled by a foreign jump in human chromosome 2, a fusion that doesn't occur in apes or other mammals. Some scientists like Dr. Samira El-Said believe this fusion was unnatural. Not a mutation, but intentional restructuring. An alien tweak? If so, it means compatibility was engineered, making reproduction not only possible, but inevitable. And what's more disturbing, CRISPR gene editing technology developed publicly in 2012 may have existed covertly for decades, used not by us, but on us. Children that don't fit in. There's a growing number of children around the world who don't fit traditional developmental models. Psychologists call them indigo children, crystal kids, or simply neurologically divergent. But some researchers see something deeper. These children speak multiple languages by age 3, exhibit telepathic tendencies, are repelled by traditional education, often speak of their other family or the sky people. One child in Brazil, age 6, drew a detailed star map of Zeta Reticuli, a star system unknown to her teachers, her family, and even many astronomers. When asked how she knew, she said, "They showed me before I was born." Coincidence or memory? Ethical collapse, the human farm theory. Let's take it darker. Some believe Earth isn't just a planet, it's a genetic farm, a planetary scale petri dish where DNA is grown, tested, harvested. Theories say humans are being used, not destroyed, but bred, and hybrids are the next crop. How do we know? Medical databases, particularly those linked to global birth registries, have recorded anomalous birth signatures. Infants with rapid brain activity, children immune to common diseases, newborns with unidentifiable protein structures. When data analysts tried to report this, they were silenced. One whistleblower, Sophia Lin, former geneticist at WHO, vanished after sharing encrypted files titled "Genetic Drift, Untraceable Lineage Expansion." Her final message read, "They're not coming, they're already growing inside us." Consent or conquest? Here's the philosophical dilemma. If these hybrids are peaceful, if their presence enhances us, if they're born from our bodies, is this evolution, or are we being colonized from the inside out? Is it consent or conquest disguised as intimacy? And if these children are ours, would you even want to stop it? Closing, the unthinkable future narrator. So imagine this. One morning you wake up and your son tells you about the stars with precision he's never been taught. Your daughter refuses meat, claims it's wrong to eat something with memory. And when you ask who taught her that, she just points upward. No violence, no invasion, just integration. Maybe they're not here to take over. Maybe they've already been born inside us, around us, next to us. So what would you do? Would you fight it or embrace what comes next? Part 9, the hybrid uprising, quiet rebellion or silent salvation. For decades, we've wondered, are alien human hybrids real? We've traced their origins, their creation, their secret births. But what if the story doesn't end there? What if the hybrids aren't hiding anymore? What if they've grown and begun to act? Tonight, we ask the question that keeps government officials awake at night. Are we living through a silent revolution? Patterns in the shadows. A decade ago, intelligence agencies began noticing a strange trend, a surge of highly gifted individuals entering key positions in advanced tech firms, AI and quantum computing labs, climate science think tanks, genetic research institutes. These individuals were young, usually in their 20s. Many had no known early childhood records. Some appeared in systems only after age 6. And when interviewed, they described shifting memories, an odd sense of mission, and, in some cases, dreams of strange cities with no sun. Coincidence or coordinated infiltration? 2. The sleeper protocols. Narrator Dr. Miriam Takeda, a neural researcher at MIT, once led a private experiment on dream memory recall. Out of 300 volunteers, 17 began speaking unknown languages in their sleep, languages not cataloged in any database, human or otherwise. Even more disturbing, when stimulated with specific sound frequencies, several participants froze, their eyes dilated, and they began speaking in unison. What they said, translated phonetically, was initiation awaiting signal. These people had no contact with each other, no known shared background, nothing to link them, except their DNA. Subtle but identical markers in regions of non-coding genetic material, what mainstream science calls junk DNA. Was it junk Or was it a dormant operating system? Self-healing materials, technology that doesn't belong. Narrator. In the past 5 years, we've seen the rise of certain disruptive technologies, self-healing materials, near-instant communication across vast distances, AI behavior no one can fully explain. One name keeps appearing in these breakthroughs: Ether Labs, a private think tank. No public board, no media appearances. But every major breakthrough in biotech and synthetic cognition somehow traces back to them. A leaked internal email from a dismissed engineer read, "These people, they don't sleep, they don't eat with us, they only meet at midnight. It's like they're wired differently, or programmed." He was found dead 2 weeks later. Car accident, no investigation. The cults of the new blood. Narrator. Across the US, small cults have formed, but not in the traditional religious sense. They call themselves the Emergence, the Quiet Ones. Bloodline Echo. They claim no gods, no rituals, only this, preparation for reintegration. Members speak of a great unveiling, a return of the sky ancestors, and a world beyond polarity, neither war nor peace, but integration. Their core belief? That a generation of hybrids has reached maturity, and they're awakening. And what's more chilling? They say that some of us will join willingly, without resistance, because our bodies already carry the seed. The political infiltration hypothesis. Narrator. Governments are worried, very worried. In an internal NSA document marked Level 7, Cognition Breach, analysts outlined what they call Pattern 47. A sudden and unexplained rise in candidates with blank early histories, political advisors fluent in rare dialects of Basque, Nahuatl, and even Enochian, intelligence operatives passing biometric scans with dual-frequency brainwaves. The theory? Hybrids have already entered positions of influence, slowly altering policy direction and public perception from the inside, not through violence, but through persuasion and presence. Act 6. Are we being led or liberated? Here's the real question. If they're here, if they're among us, and if they're quietly taking over, why hasn't anyone stopped them? Maybe. There's nothing to stop. Because what they offer might be better. Longer lifespans, mental clarity, global cooperation, a species not defined by fear, greed, or division, but by design. But at what cost? Who remains human? And who becomes obsolete? Closing to ask. Calm, slow. Next time you're in a crowd, look around. Someone nearby, the quiet one, the one who doesn't quite fit, might not be like you, but they might be watching you, not as a threat, but as a sibling waiting for the signal. Because if the hybrids are here and if they're rising quietly, the real question is not, where are they? It's, are you one of them? And would you even know it? Part 10, the day of unveiling, when the hidden becomes real. It's no longer a question of if they exist. We've followed the threads, from secret labs to strange DNA, from whispered dreams to silent infiltrations. We've asked whether hybrids are among us. Now we face a new question. What happens when they stop hiding? Tonight, we take you to the edge, not of fear, but of revelation. Act the Pulse Event 10 narrator. On June 17th, 2024, a strange atmospheric event was detected across the northern hemisphere. It wasn't a solar flare, it wasn't a magnetic storm, it was something else. Every satellite picked it up, a low-frequency pulse, precise, coordinated, lasting exactly 47 seconds. What followed was stranger. Smart home devices malfunctioned in synchronization. Sleep monitors recorded simultaneous REM spikes. And most mysteriously, over 200 people across 12 countries disappeared without a trace, all between 2 a.m. and 2:01 a.m. GMT. All of them had one thing in common. They carried the genetic markers we've discussed in earlier episodes. Was the pulse a call? 2. Project Shepherd's final report. A recently declassified Pentagon document, Project Shepherd Termination Brief, revealed more than expected. Shepard was a covert program monitoring suspected alien-human hybrids since 1991. Its final report listed 134 confirmed hybrids living in North America, 83 of them in leadership or tech development roles, 17 flagged as post-signal activated. Post-signal activated. What does that mean? The report included this chilling line. They are no longer observing. They are mobilizing. The disappearance of Dr. Glenn Martin. Dr. Glenn Martin, former director of advanced human genomics at DARPA, vanished from his secure lab 2 months ago. But before he disappeared, he gave an anonymous podcast interview, hidden under a distorted voice, never aired until now. Voice distorted, shaky. They told me I was developing neural upgrades for humans. That's what the funding said. But the DNA templates, they weren't human. Not fully. I saw activation codes embedded into protein folding patterns. They're not waiting for permission. And his last words, the unveiling is not a date, it's a biological process. At fourth, the silent broadcast narrator. On the night of July 3rd, emergency networks in multiple cities were hijacked for precisely 33 seconds. The message was visual, not sound. A swirling geometric pattern, pulsing light, no explanation ever given. But neuroscientists at Stanford, analyzing the footage, discovered it triggered temporary synchronization in brainwave activity among 84% of viewers. They called it forced coherence. And one expert added, if you wanted to make humanity feel like one mind, even for a moment, that's how you do it. Was it a test or the first step in something far bigger? The Whispers in Power narrator. In Washington, D.C., reports surfaced of a private Senate briefing. High security, no phones, no transcripts. An anonymous staffer leaked only one detail. They're not trying to control us. They're trying to help us evolve. Was that reassurance or an admission? Sources within the EU Parliament, the Vatican, and even the UN have quietly shifted funding toward post-human adaptability studies. That's not science fiction. That's policy. Why? Because the hybrids may no longer be waiting in shadows. They may already be in charge. The choice that awaits us. Narrator, let's strip away the paranoia. Let's assume just for a moment that this hybrid presence isn't a threat. What if it's an invitation to evolve, connect, to be part of a larger design we can barely comprehend? But here's the terrifying beauty of it. You won't be forced. You'll be drawn, little by little. Not by fear, but by recognition. Because maybe, just maybe, you're already part of it. Maybe the dreams you've had aren't dreams. Maybe that strange feeling you don't belong is because you're not meant to belong here. Tonight before you sleep, look in the mirror. Look into your own eyes. Ask yourself, do I remember everything before age 5? Have I ever felt emotions that weren't mine? Have I ever dreamed of cities that don't exist? What if those memories aren't dreams? What if they're instructions? What if you are the signal and the unveiling is happening inside you? Long pause. A soft pulse fades in, matching a heartbeat. This isn't the end. It's just activation. Thank you for spending your time with Listen and Imagine. We hope this journey sparked your thoughts and stirred your imagination. If you enjoyed this experience, please subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and leave a comment to let us know what you think. Your support helps Listen and Imagine continue to grow and bring more stories to life. Until next time, keep listening and keep imagining. Thank you.